Basic Electrical Engineering. Today we will discuss about the losses, efficiency and voltage regulation of a single phase transformer. So let's start. There are various types of losses occur in the transformer. These are the iron losses. Iron loss is of two types. One is called the hysteresis loss, another is called the eddy current loss. Next is the copper loss or ohmic loss, then the stray loss, and finally the dielectric loss. So it can be represented like this. This is the total loss of a transformer. The main losses are the iron loss and the copper loss. The stray loss and the dielectric loss is very small. So for small rated transformers, these losses can be ignored. Whereas the iron loss is also of two types. One is called the hysteresis loss, another is the eddy current loss. So now we will discuss one by one. As during the operating principle of the transformer, we have seen when we apply the alternating voltage across the primary winding of the transformer, then an alternating current flow in the primary winding. Corresponding a magnetomotive force is developed, the flux is produced, and this flux depends upon the alternating current. That means the flux is also sinusoidal in nature that we have already seen during the operating principle and the EMF equation. And when this flux links the primary and the secondary winding, then EMF is induced in primary as well as in the secondary winding. And if the load is connected across the secondary winding, then the current will be flowing in the secondary side. Now here the iron losses is basically occurs in the core of the transformer. And as the core is made by the ferromagnetic material, normally the silicon steel, that's why this loss is also called as the iron loss. We know that when the alternating flux is flowing, then the B versus H characteristics of the magnetic material creates a loop which is considered as the hysteresis loop. And for this hysteresis loop, due to magnetization and demagnetization of the core material, some losses occur, which is considered as a hysteresis loss. And similarly, the eddy current loss, this loss is also developed in the core of the transformer. Now the copper loss or the ohmic loss. Basically, this loss is in the form of I square R loss. So when the current is flowing in primary as well as in the secondary winding, and if it is the actual transformer, then definitely there will be some resistance of the primary as well as the secondary winding. And for the current flowing in these two windings, then I square losses will occur in both the primary as well as in the secondary winding. And their combined is considered as the total copper loss or the ohmic loss. It is considered as the copper loss because this loss occurs due to the resistance of the conducting material, and generally copper is used as a conducting material for the transformer. So I square loss is basically occurs in the windings of the transformer which is made by copper. That's why it is also called as the copper loss. And then the stray loss and the dielectric loss. So let's discuss one by one. So first is the iron loss or the core loss. It is basically caused by the alternating flux in the core of the transformer that we have already discussed. As these losses occur in the core, it is also known as the core loss. It is divided into hysteresis loss and the eddy current loss that we have already mentioned, and we will discuss one by one. So basically, the transformer is made by the ferromagnetic material where the alternating flux is flowing. And when this alternating flux is flowing to this core material, then two types of losses occurs there. One is called the hysteresis loss, which is represented by pH, and another is the eddy current loss that we will discuss later. As these two losses occurs in the core, then this is also considered as a core loss. And core is basically made by the ferromagnetic material, normally the silicon steel. That's why it is also called as a iron loss. These two losses basically depends upon the supply voltage and the frequency of the supply voltage. And in normal condition, the value of the supply voltage as well as the supply frequency is always constant. Therefore, iron loss and core loss is also considered as the constant loss. Unless the supply voltage or the frequency changes, this loss is also changes. And if the supply voltage and the uh, frequency is constant, then this loss will also be constant. That means as long as the power supply is given to the primary winding, these losses will be continuously produced. So first is the hysteresis loss. The core of the transformer is subject to an alternating magnetizing force, and for each cycle of the EMF, a hysteresis loop is created. That we have already seen in the magnetic material chapter. So here the B versus H characteristics for this magnetic material will create a loop where H is proportional to the current, that is the magnetic field intensity, which is proportional to the current, and B is the flux density, which is proportional to the flux. And as the current is alternating, therefore the flux will also be alternating in nature. So when current is zero, flux will be zero. As the current is gradually increasing, the flux will also be gradually increasing. And when the current is decreased, the flux will also be decreased, but it will follow some other path. After half cycle, when the current becomes zero, that means the magnetic field intensity H becomes zero, it can be seen that some amount of residual flux present in the core of the material. This is because of the retentive force of the material. Now, when the current is going in the opposite direction, then the magnetic field will develop in the opposite side, but initially some amount of opposing force will be required to demagnetize this residual flux which is produced because of the positive half cycle current. So again, this amount of force will be lost. Therefore, when the power supply is continuously going on, this type of B versus H characteristics will be created in the material. So there will be a continuous magnetization and demagnetization process in the material. And for that, due to this retentivity and due to this corrosive force, some losses will occur. This loss will basically convert it to the heat energy and it will be considered as the loss. As the loss occurs because of the hysteresis loop that is created in the material, that's why this is also called as a hysteresis loss. The hysteresis loss is represented by a formula that is Kh Bmax to the power x into F into V, where Kh is a proportionality constant, Bmax is the maximum flux density that is produced in the material, F is the supply frequency, and V is the volume of the material in meter cube, where X is a factor and it depends upon the material. Because material to material, the hysteresis loop, that means B versus H characteristics changes. And this factor is represented by this value X. Generally, the range of the X is seen that it is 1.5 to 2.5. Depending upon different type of material, this is the range of the X. Normally for transformers, the silicon steel is used. Silicon steel is used to develop the core of the transformer, and for silicon steel, the value of the X is equal to 1.6. And it can be seen that For this material, the hysteresis loss will be optimum. Therefore, the hysteresis loss can also be represented by the formula Kh Bmax to the power 1.6 F into V, because silicon steel is the most common material that is used to develop the core of the transformer. So as here we can see that each and every value is constant here. Bmax is the maximum flux density, it is a constant. F is the frequency of the supply voltage, constant. V is the volume of the core material, again it will be constant for a particular rated transformer. So the only variable here is X, and it depends upon the material. Therefore, the hysteresis loss can be minimized by using the silicon steel material. That means where the hysteresis loop will be minimum, then the hysteresis loss will also be the minimum. Therefore, the hysteresis loss can be minimized by using the silicon steel or high permeability material. The next part of the iron loss or the core loss is called the eddy current loss. Basically, in transformer, the AC current is supplied to the primary winding, which develop an alternating flux in the core of the transformer. And when this flux links the secondary as well as the primary winding, then the EMF is induced and the transformer operates. But here the flux also cut the core of the transformer. And remember, the core of the transformer, which is made by the silicon steel, it is also a good conductor of the current. So therefore, the alternating flux which is circulating through the core material, there also an EMF will be induced in the core of the transformer. This is according to the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, because the rate of change of flux will also cut the core material, and core material is also the good conducting material. Therefore, the EMF will be induced in the core. And as the EMF is induced in the core, then a current will start to circulate in the core. It is considered as a eddy current. And due to this eddy current, there will be a loss occur in the transformer core, that is in the form of I square R. And this loss is considered as the eddy current loss. Remember here, the eddy current loss developed because of the EMF induced in the core of the transformer due to the changing flux that is circulating through the material. And R here is the resistance of the core material, because it is the conducting material, so definitely there will be some resistance. Basically, the eddy current loss is represented by the formula Ke. It is the proportionality constant, Bmax to the power 2, then S square T square into V, where Bmax is the maximum flux density, F is the frequency of the supply voltage, T is the thickness of the material, and V is the volume of the material. Here thickness means this is the thickness of the material, thickness of the core. So here again each and every parameter is constant. So the eddy current loss can be minimized by reducing the thickness of the material. And how it will be possible? Instead of using a single solid material as a core, thin laminated sheets are used. There are thin laminated sheets which are insulated. There will be insulation between each sheet, and then there will be a compressed pressure, and then the structure of the core will be developed. So here the thickness of the material, we have reduced the thickness of the material, and the eddy current loss is proportional to square of the thickness. Therefore, if the thickness is reduced, then the eddy current loss will also be reduced significantly. Here the thin laminated sheets that is basically used to create the core, its thickness is generally 0 0.3 to 0 0.5 mm. This is the thickness of the material. This is 0 0.3 to 0 0.5 mm thickness of each sheet, each laminated sheet. So in this way, eddy current loss can be reduced. So here the hysteresis loss and eddy current loss, both the losses are produced because of the changing flux, and this loss will occur in the core of the transformer. That's it is called the core loss. So the iron loss, which is represented by Pi, it is the sum of hysteresis loss and the eddy current loss. And as this loss depends upon the voltage and the supply frequency, therefore this loss is also considered as the constant loss. Generally, if we consider the total loss of a transformer during operating condition, then around 20 to 25% of the loss is because of this iron loss, that means the eddy current loss and the hysteresis loss. Now, as these losses occur, this loss is basically converted to the heat energy. Therefore, the core of the transformer will also be heated. Therefore, there should be sufficient arrangement for cooling purpose. Next, the copper loss or the ohmic loss. This loss occurs due to the ohmic resistance of the transformer windings. Let's say I1 and I2 are the primary and the secondary current when the load is connected across the secondary side, and R1 and R2 are the resistance of the primary as well as the secondary winding. So we know that if the current I is flowing through a resistance R, then there will be a loss occurs, and this is I square R loss. So when the current is flowing in primary as well as in the secondary, therefore this loss will occur both in primary as well as in the secondary side, where R1 is the resistance of the primary side and R2 is the resistance of the secondary side. Basically, the copper loss or the ohmic loss depends upon the current, and the secondary current basically depends upon the load. That means if we increase the load, then definitely the value of I2 will be increased, and if the value of I2 is increased, then corresponding I1 will also be increased. That we have seen during the equivalent circuit and the phasor diagram of the transformer, because there is a component in the primary side which is represented by I1 dash. So I1 dash into N1 is equal to I2 into N2, that we have already discussed earlier. So this is the magnetomotive force produced in the secondary side, and to compensate this magnetomotive force, another force is developed in the primary side, and for that an extra current will start to flow in the primary side. So if the load is increased, then I2 will be increased, and as the I2 is increased, then corresponding I1 dash will also be increased. So the total copper loss can be represented as PCU, and it can be written as I1 square R1 plus I2 square R2. So this is the total copper loss of a transformer. Now this loss can also be represented by a single resistance like I1 square R01, or it can be also written as I2 square into R02. You can remember that during equivalent circuit we have calculated R01, which is called the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to primary, which is represented by R1 by R1 plus N1 upon N2 square into R2. Similarly, R02 is considered as the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary, and it can be represented as R2 plus N2 by N1 whole square into R1. So instead of calculating the ohmic loss in primary and secondary separately, we can use a single calculation to find the total loss, either in the using the primary current or using the secondary current. And it can be seen that the value here will be all exactly same as that we get the value here. That means if we calculate the ohmic loss separately, and if we calculate by using the equivalent resistance referred to primary or referred to secondary, then the value of the copper loss will be same. There will be no changes. So copper loss is basically, it depends upon the load, and it is the square of the current. It is proportional to square of the current. Suppose if we consider the copper loss as I2 square R naught 2, where R naught 2 will be constant. So it can be written as the copper loss is proportional to I2 square, because the resistance part is constant. So as the load is increased, I2 will be increased, and the copper loss will be changes as the square of the load current. Let's say I2 is the rated current. So here the copper loss will be considered as a rated copper loss of the transformer. So when the load is called full load. So when the load is full load, it will be considered as a rated condition. Then the current in the secondary side will also be the rated value. So the copper loss will also be considered as a rated copper loss. But if we reduce the load by half, that means if we run the transformer by half load, then for that case, the current will become half of the rated current, because at full load condition, the current will be I2. So at half load condition, the current will be half, because the power in the load P2 is V2 I2 cos phi. Here V2 is the voltage across the load, cos phi is the power factor. These two values basically constant. As long as the supply voltage and the nature of the load is constant, V2 and cos phi will be constant. So if we reduce the load, if we change the load, then only the current will be changed. That means if we reduce the load by half, that means if we make the half load condition, then only the current will be half. Therefore, the copper loss will be changed as the square of this current. So in this case, the copper loss will be proportional to 1 by 2 square into I2 square. So this is the copper loss for the full load, and this is the copper loss for the half load. So in this way, depending upon the load compared to its full load condition, the copper loss will vary as the square of this load. Therefore, this loss is also considered as a variable loss, because the load can be changes anytime. And when the load changes, therefore I2 will be changes, the secondary current. And as the I2 changes, then corresponding copper loss will also be changes. So this loss is totally depends upon the load. That's why it is also considered as a variable loss. The other two losses, basically the copper loss, if we consider, it is around 80% of the total loss that occurs in a transformer, or you can say it is around 75 to 80% of the total loss. That means if we consider the total loss of a transformer as 100, then the maximum percentage of the loss occurs because of this copper loss. Next is the stray loss and the dielectric loss. These two losses basically occur in a transformer with heavy rating. When the rating of the transformer is very high, then these losses can be seen. But its value is so small that it can be ignored. So what is the stray loss? Stray loss is basically arise because of the leakage flux of the transformer. As we know that when the primary side windings are supplied by voltage source, the current is flowing. the flux will be developed in the core of the transformer. Now this flux will cut the windings, the core of the transformer, as well as the other part of the transformer also. The big size transformer is always put within a tank which is filled by the oil. And this tank is made by again some ferromagnetic material. So when this flux circulates in the transformer, it will also cut the tank and other part of the transformer which is made by the ferromagnetic material. Therefore, in each and every space of the tank, the eddy current will be developed just like the eddy current loss we have seen earlier. And for this eddy current developed in the other structure of the transformer, these losses will occur. As this loss occurs all around the transformer, that it is also called as a stray loss. There are, other than the transformer core and the windings, for big transformer there are other parts also. For example, tank, conservator tank, bushing. There are different type of other components also. And because of this alternating flux, the EMF will be induced everywhere. And because of this EMF, the eddy current will be produced all over the structure of the transformer. And because of this eddy current, the losses will occur, which is considered as a stray loss. Next is the dielectric loss. It is basically occurs in the insulating material of the transformer, that is in the oil of the transformer or in the solid insulation due to the large electric stresses. When the oil get decayed or the solid insulation get damaged or its quality gradually decreases, then these losses will occur. So in case of low voltage transformer, it is so small that we can ignore. But for large size transformer, this losses is little bit that we can consider. So what is dielectric losses? As we have already told that for bigger size transformer, the main part of the transformer is basically put within a tank which is filled by the oil. This oil is basically used to cool the transformer because during operation the transformer there will be different type of losses occurs in a transformer, and these losses will be converted to the heat energy, and this heat should be dissipated. So this oil will collect the heat from the transformer and it will circulate through the structure of the transformer. But over a period of time, this oil, the insulation property of this oil will be gradually decreased, or its quality will be gradually decreased. This considered as a dielectric loss of the transformer. But again, the stray loss and the dielectric loss is very low. It can be considered as only 2 to 3% of the total losses. Combined stray loss and dielectric loss is only 2 to 3%. So for small transformer, we can easily ignore it. For larger size transformer, it can be considered. Next is the efficiency of a transformer. The efficiency is basically defined as the ratio of the output power to the input power. So in case of transformer, again the efficiency is the output power upon input power. But here the unit of the input and output power should be same. That means either both should be in watt or both should be in kilowatt. So basically the efficiency can be written as output power by input power. Now here we can see that the voltage across the load is V2, the current flowing through the load is I2. Let's say the power factor of the load is cos phi. So the output power can be written as V2 I2 cos phi. This is the output power. Remember, in case of transformers, V1 I1 is equal to V2 I2, and which is considered as the rating of a transformer. So V2 I2 value is always constant. So depending upon the power factor, we can calculate the value of output power. if V2I2 is its full form, the total value of V2I2 is considered along with some power factor, then this power is considered as the rated output power. It is called the rated output power. For example, V1I1 is equal to V2I2, let's say it is 100 kVA, for example. And the power factor of the load is, let's say, 0.8. So here the rated output will be equal to 100, that is the value of V2I2, into the power factor, that is 0.8. So 80 kilowatt will be the rated output power. So when the power factor is equal to 0.8, the rated output is 80 kilowatt. Let's say the power factor is 0.6. So the output power will be 100 into 0.6. So in this case, we will get 50 kilowatt as the output when the power factor is 0.6. But again, this will be considered as the rated output. Again, it will be considered as the rated output. Because here the V2I2 is constant. Only the power factor changes because of the nature of the load changes. So this is called the rated output power. We know that there are different types of losses occurs in a transformer. One is called the iron loss, which is the combination of hysteresis loss and the eddy current loss, and it is constant. And another loss, that is the copper loss. In terms of the secondary current, it can be written as I2 square R02. So when V2I2 is 100, then this I2 square R02 is also considered as a rated copper loss. This is considered as the rated copper loss. Now, if we put the load in such a way that its nature, its power factor will be same. That means, let's say the nature of the load is resistive inductive type, where the power factor is 0.8 lagging. So we are using the same nature load, but the total amount of the load is made half. So in this case, the output power will be half of the total load. So it will be half of the total load. Here the power factor will be remain same because the nature we have not changed. In this case, we will get 40 kilowatt as the output power. This will be considered as a half load. That means half of the full load. In this way, we can change the value. And as the power is reduced to half, in this case, the V2I2 value is 100 by 2, that means 50. But V2 is always constant. So what happened? Only the output current will be reduced to half. So now the output current will be half of the rated secondary current, where I2 is the rated secondary current. So the output current will be half of the rated secondary current. And in this case, the copper loss will be equal to, it will be the output current square into R02. And the output current here is 1 by 2 of I2 square into R02. It can be written as 1 by 2 square I2 square R02. So finally, the copper loss at half load will be equal to 1 by 2 square of rated copper loss. That means if we change the load, corresponding current will be changes, And as the current changes, the corresponding copper loss will also be changes as the square of the current. Remember one thing, the general relations of the input power and the output power is input power, we can supply the power, input power to any system. Then there will be some losses occur in a system and then we'll get some output power. So this is the basic, we can say the power equation. Input power should be equal to losses plus output power. Therefore, the efficiency of the transformer can also be written as output power. This is the output power upon, instead of input power, we can write output power plus losses. So it can be written as output power plus losses. So at a rated condition, the efficiency at full load condition can be written as P2 upon P2 plus Pi plus PCU. So this is the output power, rated output power at full load condition upon the output power plus losses. And we know that there are two types of losses. One is the iron loss, another is the copper loss. So this is the formula to find the full load efficiency of a transformer. If we want to calculate the efficiency in terms of percentage, then we have to multiply by 100. So in this way, we can find the efficiency. Now the question is, if the load is not the full load, then what happens? As we have already seen that we can change the load without changing the nature of the load, because if we change the nature, then the power factor will be changes. But without changing the nature of the load, if we change the total amount of the load, then the output power will also be changes. That means this is the output power, this is the rated output power, that is here from this line we can write. Now the output power will be equal to half of the rated output power. So when we make the load as half, the output power will become half of the rated load, rated output power. If we make the output power as double of the rated output power, then it will be 2 of P2. In this way, we can consider the P2 is the rated output power, that is V2I2 cos phi. It is the rated output power. Pi is the iron loss, that is the constant value, and PCU is the I2 square R0 2, and here it will be considered as a rated copper loss. It is the rated copper loss. Now consider X is the fraction of the full load. X is the fraction of full load. Fraction of full load means, just in previous slide we have considered half load. That means there the value of X equal to 1 by 2. So for X equal to 1 means it is full load. For X equal to 1 by 2 means it is half load, half of the full load. If we write X equal to 2, it is double of the full load, and so on. So X may be anything. It is the fraction of the full load. In this case, the efficiency of the transformer will be equal to X of rated output. Here P2 is the rated output power, it is a constant value. but xP2 is the output power when the transformer is connected with the x fraction of the full load. It may be half, it may be 75%, it may be 80%. Let's say the load is 80%. So in this case, the value of x will be equal to 0.8. If the load is 40%, the value of x will be equal to 0.4. So it is the fraction of the full load. So it is output power upon output power plus losses. So again it will be xP2 plus Pi plus x square PCO. As we have already seen that as the load changes, corresponding current changes, and depending upon the current, the copper loss changes as the square of the current. So here the load is x fraction of the full load, therefore the copper loss will be square of the x of the rated copper loss. Here PCU is the rated copper loss, it is the constant for a particular transformer. But x square PCU indicates the amount of the copper loss in that particular condition for which the transformer is operating. So this is the general efficiency equation of a transformer, and we will use this formula to calculate the efficiency of the transformer at any load. Suppose you have to calculate the efficiency for full load, so we put x equal to 1. We have to calculate the efficiency at half load, 50% load, so we'll put x equal to 0.5. We have to calculate the efficiency at 75% of the full load, 75% of the loaded condition. So we'll put x equal to 0.75 and so on. So basically x is changing, x is the variable. So the efficiency of the transformer will also depend upon the load. Now if we want to find the maximum efficiency of the transformer, we can write d eta upon dx should be equal to 0. This is basically the condition for maximum efficiency. That means here all other parameters are constant except the value of x. So now if we differentiate this, we can write d of dx within bracket xp2 by xp2 plus pi plus x square PCU. It should be equal to 0 for maximum efficiency. So here it will be P2 into xP2 plus Pi plus x square PCU minus xP2 into P2 plus 2 of x PCU upon xP2 plus Pi plus x square PCU whole square, and it should be equal to 0 to get the maximum efficiency. And if this value is equal to 0, then definitely the numerator will be equal to 0. So we'll consider this phasor diagram later. So here we can write the numerator should be equal to 0. That means it is x p2 square plus p2 into pi plus x square p2 pcu minus x p2 square minus 2x square p2 pcu, and it should be equal to 0 for maximum efficiency. Here x p2 square is cancelled, and it will be p2 into pi minus, this is minus 2, this is plus 1, it will be minus x square P2 PCU equal to 0, or we can write P2 Pi is equal to x square P2 PCU. If we cancel P2 from both sides, so we can write Pi is equal to x square PCU. So this is the condition for maximum efficiency of a transformer. And what it states? It states that Pi is the iron loss and x square PCU is the copper loss for the load for which the transformer is operating. So this statement can be written as, here the statement can be written as, when the iron loss is equal to the copper loss, the efficiency will be maximum. The efficiency will be maximum. So this is the condition for maximum efficiency of a transformer. That means when the iron loss is equal to the copper loss, the efficiency will be maximum. Here I have drawn this phasor diagram that we have already discussed earlier. It is basically represents that the primary current depends upon the load. So as the load changes, then the I1 dash will also be changes, and therefore the I1, that is the total primary current, will also be changes. Now, as here we have seen that the depending upon the load, the efficiency changes, so we can find the value of x here. From this relation, we can find the x, and it will be equal to square root of Pi upon PCU. As the iron loss is constant for a transformer and PCU, that is the rated copper loss, is also constant, then by using this factor, using this value, we can easily find the value of x, that is the fraction of the load for which the efficiency of the transformer will become maximum. Sometimes we have to calculate the load corresponding to maximum efficiency. So it can be represented as the load for maximum efficiency is represented as x into rated kVA. This is the relation that we have to use during the numerical question solution. So sometimes it can be asked to find what will be the load on the transformer when the efficiency is maximum. So that can be calculated by multiplying the rated kVA with the value of x. So from this relation we can say that when the current is 0, the efficiency will also be 0 definitely, because current 0 means the output power will be 0. And as the current is gradually increasing, the output power will be increasing, as well as the copper losses will also be increasing. Therefore, the efficiency will also be increasing gradually. At a particular condition, when the copper loss and iron loss become same, we will get the maximum efficiency. If we increase the load further, now again the efficiency of the transformer will be reduced. So if you want to plot the efficiency with respect to the output power or the secondary current, then it will be look like this. So as the output power is 0, efficiency will be 0. Output power is gradually increasing, the efficiency is also increasing. Here the efficiency will be maximum, and the maximum efficiency will occur when the iron loss is equal to the copper loss, and corresponding value of x can also be calculated, which is the fraction of the full load. It may be anything, it may be 90%, 95%, 96%, anything. Here one thing you have to remember, that the efficiency of the transformer is very high. It is always in the range of 96% to 99%. This is the range of the efficiency. As there is no moving part in the transformer, so there will be no friction and windage losses. Therefore, the transformer is the electrical device which has the maximum efficiency, and this is the range of the efficiency of a transformer. The next topic is the voltage regulation. Voltage regulation is defined as the percentage change in the secondary terminal voltage compared to its original no load voltage under varying secondary load. So it can be written as change in output voltage upon the no load power. The voltage regulation can also be said that it is the rate of change of secondary terminal voltage from no load to full load condition with respect to the rated secondary voltage. So voltage regulation VR is equal to a rate of change of secondary load terminal voltage with respect to the rated secondary voltage. And if we want to calculate it in percentage, then we can multiply by 100%. Let's explain. As we know that when the transformer operates at no load condition, therefore no current will flow in the secondary side. So in this case, the voltage across the terminal, let's say this is the load terminal A and B, the voltage across the load terminal will be equal to the EMF induced in the secondary winding. A2 is a rated value. It is the rated value which is considered as the rated secondary voltage. It is always constant as long as the supply voltage is constant. So in this case, the secondary terminal voltage will be equal to the induced EMF in the secondary side. But if we connect the load across the secondary winding, then the secondary current I2 will be developed. Therefore, the relation between A2 and V2 can be written as, now the value of A2 will be equal to V2 plus I2 into R2 plus JX2 that we have seen in the equivalent circuit of the transformer. So here we can write V2 is equal to A2 minus I2 into R2 plus JX2. So definitely if the load is increased, I2 will be increasing, and with the value of increasing of I2, this losses will also increase. As a result, the terminal voltage will be reduced because E2 is constant. Therefore, at no load condition, the voltage across the secondary terminal is A2, and at loaded condition, the voltage across the terminal is V2. So the change in terminal voltage from no load to full load can be represented as E2 minus V2, because at no load it is equal to E2, but at loaded condition the value of V2 will be obviously less than E2. So this is the change in terminal voltage. Now, if we divide this value by the rated secondary voltage, this will be considered as the voltage regulation. So if we see the definition, the voltage regulation is defined as the rate of change of secondary load terminal voltage with respect to the rated secondary voltage. So secondary side voltage will be changed from no load to full load. This change can be represented as E2 minus V2. And the voltage regulation is the ratio of change in secondary terminal voltage with respect to the secondary rated voltage, that is E2. If you want to find it in percentage, it should be multiplied by 100. Remember, the voltage regulation of the transformer should be as low as possible, and for good transformer, this value should be 2 to 5%. It should not be more than that. So the voltage regulation should be as low as possible. Generally, during calculation, some formula are used for the voltage regulation, and it is represented as I2 square R naught 2 cos phi plus minus I2 square x naught 2 sin phi upon E2. So this is basically the formula to calculate the voltage regulation. Here I2 is the secondary current, R naught 2 is the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary, that we have already discussed earlier also. So this is the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary side. Similarly, X naught 2 is the equivalent reactance of the transformer referred to secondary side. So it can be calculated N2 by N1 square into X1. Cos phi is the power factor of the load, and if you know the cos phi, then we can easily calculate sin phi also. So this formula is used to find the voltage regulation, and here E2 is the rated secondary voltage. Here you can see that we use plus or minus sign. So y plus y minus, or when plus when minus. It basically depends upon the nature of the power load. That means when the load is resistive inductive, we know that the power factor becomes lagging. And for lagging power factor, we will use the plus sign. So for resistive inductive load, when the power factor is lagging, in this case, we will use the plus sign in the numerator. Whereas when the load is RC type, the power factor will be leading, and then we will use the minus sign. So during calculation of the voltage regulation, we have to note the type of the load also, or the nature of the power factor also. If it is lagging, we have to use the plus sign, and if it is leading, we have to use the minus sign. Remember one thing, the voltage regulation can be zero also. Voltage regulation can be zero only for leading power factor. Only for leading power factor, the voltage regulation may be zero, and that can be easily calculated also. So thank you.